Hello. Virtually all of us know about the Jubilee year, don't we? That's every 50th year. This is a major milestone in people's lives, such as birthdays and wedding anniversaries and school and other organisational anniversaries. In the Bible, God said this is when debts are to be cancelled, slaves are to be set free, and land that belonged to a family that had been sold during that 50-year period, that land was then handed back to the original family that had previously owned it. So let's look at the past century for the Jubilee years. These were in 1917-18 and again in 1966 and 67. So the next one will be 2015 and 16, and I think this is significant. So the Hebrew year, the first one of these that we look at briefly, was 1917-18. It was a Jubilee, and that was when General Allenby and the British and Commonwealth troops captured Jerusalem from the Turks. And I have a picture of that event happening there in Jerusalem. In the year 1966-67, again a Jubilee year, Israel captures Jerusalem in the Six-Day War. Now, there's something very interesting you need to understand. Rabbi Judah ben Samuel lived in Regensburg in Germany in the year 1217. That's a long time ago. And he gave an amazing Jubilee prophecy just before his death. He prophesied that the Ottoman Turks would rule over Jerusalem for 8 Jubilees. He then said that during the following Jubilee cycle, Jerusalem would be a no man's land. And then he said Jerusalem would be returned to the Jews, and during this 10th Jubilee, the end times would take place. Fascinating. So the Ottoman Empire, this is it at its extreme. Basically, it was based on Turkey, but it included a major part of the Mediterranean and the Middle East. Now, it's interesting when we look at Rabbi Ben Samuel's events, we can see the years. In 1517, the Turks occupied Jerusalem, and for 400 years they did that. Then they were replaced by the British and the Commonwealth troops. Then it was no man's land controlled by Jerusalem. Finally, it became, in the Six-Day War, it became Israeli territory. And very shortly we come to something that brings that 50th Jubilee year to an end. So the 8th Jubilee ended in the summer of 1917, and 3 months later General Allenby with the British and the Commonwealth troops chased the Turks out of Jerusalem. Then there was that 49 years of no man's land, and even after Israel became a nation in 1948, there's a strip of land called no man's land that divided Jerusalem. Very interesting. The next Jubilee year, 49 years after Allenby's conquest, occurred in 1966 and 67. And during that year, the Jews gained control over Jerusalem, and this would begin the end times according to Rabbi Judah ben Samuel. This Jubilee cycle lasts another 49 years, and it ends in 2015 and 16. So when we consider that Jubilee in the Bible is about liberation, and so every 50 years in Israel, all debts were to be cancelled, all slaves were set free, and all land was to be returned to its original owner. Now, the 7th day is a Sabbath rest day, according to God. We can argue about which day that should be at another time. The 7th year, or the Shemitah, is the Sabbath rest year, and we'll talk about that in the next session. And the 7th Shemitah is the 49th year, with the 50th year being Jubilee. And then the cycle starts all over again. But did you know that the next Jubilee year, 2015 and 16, will be the 70th ever? Will God want his real estate back then? Watch this space. If you want more information on this, you'll find it in this little book called The Jubilee, the Shemitah, and Surviving the Debt Crisis, also available on DVD.